Hey everyone, it's Kathy. Thanks so much for joining me. I have the last card using the waterfront stamp set, and this is going to be a night scene, and I really like how this one turned out. So if you're interested in picking up this stamp set, I'd love to earn your business. It's available in my shop. All right, so here is the card that I made, and we're going to get started. Now this card pretty well uses Night of Navy and a black ink. So those are the two colors we're going to use. And I did use a 5/8 hole punch and punched out a little mask with a post-it note. And no, I have not found that circle stamp from the stamp set. But then again, I haven't really looked. So, but I did look through my stamps or my stamp heads to see if it was stuck on the back of that, but it wasn't. So yeah, I still got to go through my garbage. But anyway, this scene I'm building, I did reference it from an image or photo from the internet, and I'm mainly using the mountain stamp. And then I'm also going to be using the long one that's in the stamp set. And so right now I'm building, pardon the pun, a blueprint of this scene using Night of Navy. And then afterwards I'm going to switch over to a black ink. And I'm using that VersaFine one that just happens to be on my desk. And I decided I'm going to use that. I'm just building a higher mountain, and it doesn't matter that I'm messing up the bottom part there because I'm going to be cutting down the panel, and I am stamping on Whisper White because Whisper White really works well with the ink. Now here's that long stamp, and just kind of watch where I'm kind of stamping because you want to create a soft edge at the bottom there. So I'm doing that again, and then I'm just going to fix that little highlight there. Yeah, so now I'm just going to fill in the image again with the black, and it's okay that you see some like lighter areas here and there. Because you want that. You don't want it to be like 100% solid black because then it'll just look flat, right? So sometimes you need to stamp hard, and then sometimes you need to stamp lighter, and also inking wise too. Okay, so now I'm going to create something at the back there, a little piece of land at the far end there, and I'm just kind of stamping, and you do want some haze of some sort, maybe like a fog in the back. And I did turn that stamp around on the other end because I wanted a fatter side, so I'm turning it over again. So I want the thin side now. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain all this. And I hope I'm making sense as I'm stamping. Now here's where I was mentioning where you want that haze, and I want it kind of like a fog, just something light, nothing solid, or like a harsh edge basically, which is what you don't want. But for this card, I think I'm trying to create fog or clouds when you look across the horizon. Once you shade the top with the dark blue sky, it just all ties in together. And I'm also going to shade the areas that are lighter around the mountain to kind of give it that bluish look. But if you don't really like the blue, you can go over it with a very light gray or just leave it as is. All right, so here's where I'm shading the top, and it's going to be, or it needs to be, a really bold dark sky, but not black though. And I was really working hard at trying to get that little streak out of there. Well, just so you know, I used that mono sand eraser on it, and it didn't really work too well. So I was like, oh no. now that I'm shading over top of it, it's emphasizing it a little bit more than I like. And I think hindsight, I should have just left it. Right? Yeah. But you live and learn. All right. So I'm pretty happy with that. And now this part here where I mentioned earlier, I'm just really lightly just kind of shading over the lighter areas. So it gives off that kind of light bluish tinge to those mountains. And I did cut this at 3.5, but I later go back and trim it down to 3.25. And on the long side, it's 5.25. Now, I took off the Post-it note, and because the moon looks so stark, I have to do something with it, right? And I was a little nervous because I didn't want to mess up the card, but I have this tiny sponge dauber, and whatever gray I had on it, I just lightly touched it to give it just a bit of color. And then this thank you sentiment is from the Heartfelt Blooms Celebration stamp. So I used the same one just like in the other card. And I decided to use my Stamp-A-Majig that I had in my stash forever. And that way I didn't mess it up. And now I'm going to stick down the panel. Now, you can't have moist hands because I smudged it. Oh. And then while I was erasing it, I smudged the T just a little bit. So there's that eraser. And I was starting to panic, like really panic. But I managed to kind of fix it. It looks pretty good. But still, that little streak. And then later on, I was sitting down. I thought about it. And I thought, why don't I just use that dotted stamp and put some stars in the sky, right? So that kind of covered it. But I know it's still there. Well, that's it for this card. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're interested in seeing more, let me know in the comments below. I could probably whip up a couple of more different scenes. I am having a lot of fun playing with it though. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye for now.